Hey everyone, welcome back to 996 The Howl. If I ever have an excuse to wear this jersey, I will wear it. It's been a while. One of my favorite Coyotes jerseys, and obviously going to be talking about one of my favorite Coyotes players and the reason why I stopped getting names on the back of jerseys. But a bit of a surprise, Saturday morning it was announced Dylan Guenther officially made the Coyotes NHL roster. He will not be going back down to juniors in the Western Hockey League. A surprise to me. My gut feeling said he would get sent down. Earlier in the season, in training camp and preseason, Bill Armstrong and the coaching staff said they were not sure if Dylan Guenther would make past the 9 games, but he did. He showed up. He had an impact. He produced. He's playing, on the top line sometimes with Keller. He doesn't look too much out of place. There's situations in games where out of nowhere he'll make a great play or have a great shot or score an important goal. So congrats to Dylan Guenther, but I wanted to compare him to other top first round draft picks the Coyotes have made over the past years and their first 10 games in the NHL and where he stacks up with them. So, like I said, we'll start with Dylan Guenther. This current season, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points in 10 games. Unfortunately, he didn't get a point last night in his 10th game against Washington, which was an insane and wild game. A crazy win for the Coyotes and a big bounce back from the blowout against Dallas at home. But he's only averaging 12 and a half minutes on ice. It's a bit low compared to other first round draft picks for the Coyotes, but I think it's only going to increase. There's some games he played 16 minutes a couple games this season. So he's just got to get a little bit more acclimated. I'm thankful it's not under 10 minutes like how Seattle is handling Shane Wright. Everyone likes Guenther. They talk a high praise about him. So the fact that it's a bit low, around 12 and a half minutes, it's not too concerning. I expect that to go up. If it starts to go back down, then I start to question why they kept him up on the NHL roster. He still has a chance to play in the World Juniors this December with Team Canada. We'll see if that happens. If he does go back down to play in that tournament, that'll take about a month off his NHL schedule for like practices and the 2-week tournament and what have you, and coming back, maybe go to Tucson for a 2-week conditioning stint. So there's still a lot of things that could happen with Guenther, but if he stays on the NHL roster for the time being, I expect that 12 minutes to go up. The most recent one before Guenther was Barrett Hayton, who's a bit struggling this season in terms of points. Finally got his first assist last night against Washington. But he's doing all the good things. He's taking shots. It's just not happening for him. I'm not worried. Andre Tourigny's not worried. They keep playing him out there on the second power play with good players. He was out there for the last minute where the Coyotes scored the third goal to win the game. So that's good news. And he looks comfortable and confident. Just, I don't know why it's just not translating to the score sheet. But he was drafted 5th overall. Dylan Guenther drafted 9th overall. Hayton drafted 5th overall in 2018. Had a goal, 3 assists, 4 points in his first 10 games in the NHL. He was drafted in 2018, went to juniors for the 18-19 season, and then played his first 10 games in the 19-20 season. He only played 20 games in that season due to the shutdown in March, so it was a bit of a weird situation for Hayton, but he averaged almost 12 minutes, 11 minutes, 47 seconds. This is under Rick Tocchet's tenure. There's going to be about 3 coaches here. You got Andre Tourigny with Guenther. You got Rick Tocchet, who touched Hayton, Strome, Keller, and Chychrun. And then you got Dave Tippett and Soderstrom. And then Dave Tippett with Domi and Dylan Strome. So Hayton, he didn't set the world on fire when he played his first 10 games. I think Dylan Guenther had a better 10 games than Barrett Hayton's first 10 games. Even though the 2019 winter was like one of the best Coyote games in the past decade. They were like first in the Pacific. They were really running away with that lead in first place. They acquired Taylor Hall in December. Then it kind of all went south when Darcy Kuemper got injured and they're falling out of first place. They found themselves out of a playoff spot, but then ultimately in the bubble, they They made the bubble, beat the Predators. But yeah, even though the Coyotes were playing amazing hockey, Barrett Hayton, only got 4 points in his 10 games. Was expecting big things out of Barrett Hayton. He was fifth overall. Another centerman. We just got burned from Dylan Strome and had to trade him for Schmaltz. So we're all hyping up Hayton to be that number one centerman we wanted, but it kind of never translated. And still, almost 3 years later, he's not a number one centerman. We're trying to see if he's at least a number two centerman, but maybe what he is a good third line centerman who touches a lot of areas on the ice. Next, we'll go to Keller, who I would say he probably had the best 10 games for a high draft pick for the Coyotes. I know Domi's got more points, but 3 of these 10 games occurred under Dave Tippett. Remember, he was drafted in 2016, went back to college for the 16-17 season, and then when the college season ended, he played 3 games for the Coyotes. So I counted those 3 games just to make it fair for everyone. It's just their first 10 games in the NHL. This isn't just his first 10 games in his rookie season. So he got, I believe, two assists in those 3 games. He didn't jump out the page to me for those first 3 games under Dave Tippett, but obviously his rookie year was amazing, and he took off and solidified himself as a number one winger, the most skilled guy on our team. He got 5 goals, 4 assists, 9 points in his first 10 games in the NHL, averaging 17 and a half minutes. So they rode him like a horse. Rick Tocchet loved Clayton Keller in his first season. Keller's first season, already put there in the first line winger position, and he started the season off strong and just continued playing the whole season at a high level, played all 82 games in his rookie season. So, 7th overall, one of the best Coyotes first round draft picks on this list and for a long time, and he's still putting up huge numbers. Last season he was about to eclipse his rookie season totals before his injury. This season he's still a point per game, looking amazing. Beautiful play on that game-winning goal last night where he stops up on the play, finds Hayden who shoots it, and then Richie gets the rebound. Loving Keller, like I said, one of the best high draft picks the Coyotes have had in a really long time. Immediately made an impact. Immediately came in the NHL and showed that he's a top line winger, and that was his ceiling, and he kind of went away from it for a bit, whether that was due to him or the coaching of Rick Tocchet, but he's back to where he started, and it's just great to see. He's been our best player since he came on the scene. We moved to Chychrun, who was drafted 16th overall in the same draft year as Keller, but he did not go down to juniors right after being drafted. This was Dave Tippett's last season in the 16-17 season, and he played 68 games, and in his first 10 games, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, averaging almost 18 minutes. Yes, he's a defenseman, but just goes to show how sometimes players get sent down to juniors or their college years right after being drafted, but Chychrun's the only one on here who immediately was drafted and played on the NHL roster immediately, and didn't look too much out of place. I felt like in his rookie year, near the end of the season, he was starting to make mistakes, but Dave Tippett loved him. He was a solid D-man. Didn't have that offensive prowess in his rookie year, but in subsequent years, we would start to see him put up huge goal numbers and point totals. Unfortunately, injuries have plagued his career so far. He hasn't played since like February 2022, so you always forget that Chychrun's on the team, but it's unfortunate that injuries have plagued his career. Hopefully when he comes back this season it's 100% and he doesn't really get injured again for the Coyotes, and we could flip him for some good value. But yeah, it's interesting to see that he got drafted and immediately played. Sort of like Moser. He was drafted in 2021 and then played in the 21-22 season, and now he's just a mainstay on the roster. So a similar trajectory Moser had as Chychrun. And then we get to Max Domi, Drafted 12th overall, one of my favorite players to play for the Coyotes. 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points in his rookie year. Domi and 17 minutes on average for ice time. So it seems like if you play 17 minutes in your first 10 games for the Coyotes, you're a superstar on the team, which he was for the Coyotes. Not sure what happened after that first year with Montreal, but he finds himself in Chicago, bouncing around the league. Hopefully things start to look up for him. But like I was saying, he's the only one on this board who went down to juniors for 2 years. So he was drafted in 2013, didn't play the 13-14 season, didn't play 14-15 season, but played and debuted in the 15-16 season, playing 81 games. So this is what Dylan Guenther, I was thinking the path he would have taken. Drafted in 2021, didn't play 21-22, gets his 9-game tryout in 22-23, and then a full season in 23-24. So Domi went down for 2 years in juniors, season, developed, had some big World Junior Tournament experiences and production. And next to Keller, one of the best top draft picks performances in his rookie year. So I was expecting Guenther to follow Domi. It didn't happen. We'll see how it works out. I'm sure in a couple of years we'll do another video like this with Cooley or Geeky or the 2023 top draft pick. So Domi started off really strong. Like Keller, he was immediately a top 6 player, played big minutes, produced. Him and Duclair were amazing to watch and fun to watch. Just unfortunately, his career kind of went downwards from there. He had a little bit of a spurt in his first year in Montreal, but went back down. Not sure what his problem is or what he's going through, but it's sad to see that he fell from that superstar status that I thought he was going to be. But a great showing in his first 10 games as a Coyote and in his rookie year. And then we go to Soderstrom, who we're still trying to figure out what he is or what he's going to be. Drafted 11th overall in 2019. He played 4 games in the 21 season. In that 56-game season, he only played 4 games for Rick Tocchet. And then in Andre Tourney's first season, he played 16 games. And he's got a pretty poor showing in 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points, an average 16 minutes. Pretty high for a defenseman who hasn't been working out to play 16 minutes a night. But I think in those tourney games, those 16 games, with all those injuries, we're kind of leaning on Soderstrom, but wasn't up to snuff. I feel like I skipped Strome. If I did, I'm sorry. I'll go back to Strome. Drafted 3rd overall in that McDavid draft in 2015. He didn't play in the 15-16 season, went down to juniors, and then got his tryout just like Guenther in the 16-17 season, but only lasted 7 games before, Dave Tippett said this guy's not ready, went back down to juniors, and then came back up in the 17-18 season and played 21 games for Rick Tocchet. So, he only had 1 assist in those 10 games, averaging 13 minutes. He didn't like the world on fire. He was actually a big disappointment, bigger than Barrett Hayton. We were trying to tank in that 2015 draft, trying to get McDavid or at least Jack Eichel, but we ended up getting Dylan Strome, a big centerman. We were hoping, just like Hayton, to be our number 1 centerman, big guy in a time where, Don Maloney wanted to compete with Getzlaf and Kopitar. He wanted his own, big centerman. Never translated to be that. Struggled so much under different coaches and never really produced on the score sheet at all with the Coyotes. As it shows here, 1 point. Why did I put 0 here? Should be 1 point, 1 assist in those first 10 games. But yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about how in that 2015 draft, nothing's really happened for those first 4 draft picks. McDavid gets drafted by Edmonton. They still haven't won a cup. They went pretty far last season but got swept by the Avalanche in the conference finals. Jack Eichel, that relationship with the Sabres went south really fast, was traded to the Vegas Golden Knights. Now he's starting to pick it up for the Golden Knights and playing good. Dylan Strome didn't work out for the Coyotes, traded for Nick Schmaltz. Mitch Marner, probably the second best player in that draft, picked. The Leafs still haven't made it past the first round. So just because you draft really high in a highly touted draft class doesn't mean you'll win the cup. You just got to stack those high draft picks on top of each other. Just like the Avalanche, where they finished last, had one of the worst seasons in NHL history, and then picked fourth due to the lottery shenanigans. Got Cale Makar, added him to a team with already players that they drafted like Landeskog, McKinnon, and Rantanen, and that was a recipe for success to win the cup. So you can't just rely on one player. That's why Bill Armstrong, this team isn't going in the direction of the 2023 draft pick is make or break for this team. They've already acquired a lot of high draft picks already, Dylan Guenther being one of them. They got Cooley and Geeky this past summer. So you just add on high-end talent on top of high-end talent and try to create that success just like the Avalanche. You can't really trust in the lottery system. It will most of the time work against you like it has with the Coyotes all the time. So these are the first round draft picks for the Coyotes, highly touted prospects that were supposed to take us out of the basement. But besides Keller and Domi, they haven't really hit that bar and wowed you so much in their first 10 games. It's great to see that Guenther got 6 points in 10 games. I expect him to get better as time goes on, be more confident. In a blurb written by Craig Morgan, Andre Tourigny said that there's times in the games where Dylan Guenther kind of doesn't show up, but he's learning and absorbing the other team's tendencies. And then at some points in games, he'll take advantage of those tendencies. And I see that too. He'll ghost for maybe a couple minutes, a period, 10 minutes here or there, but then all of a sudden he's on a 2-on-1, he's on a breakaway, he's making a crazy pass to someone to generate a good high danger chance. So I only hope for good things for Guenther. I hope he doesn't stall and we get into a situation like Barrett Hayton or Dylan Strome where he's getting scratched, the coach loses trust in him. We're not sure what to do with him because we can't send him down to juniors and pay him money to play in the junior league. So hopefully it all works out. Like I said, I was not expecting this out of Guenther. The preseason didn't really show that he was going to be on the NHL roster, but in these first 10 games, he's looking like one of the better offensive players for the Coyotes, along with Michelli, Keller, gotta say Nick Ritchie, Lawson Krause, and hopefully Barrett Hayton starts to get on that score sheet as well. So that's it. It was a bit of a fun video to go back in time, talk about my favorite player and Max Domi, just go back, and it's been so long being a Coyotes fan, almost 10 years now, and seeing all the hype around some of these names and then some of them not, owning up to that hype and reaching those heights. So hopefully Guenther isn't one of them. Hopefully he follows the path of Keller, Domi, and Chychrun, but we'll see. That's all we can do is hope and see. And hopefully Guenther takes us out of this hopelessness and despair and really shows that this new organization, this new coaching staff knows how to develop players and makes the right decisions, because it wasn't really the right decision by other coaching staff and management. They didn't really handle Hayden well. They didn't handle Strome well. We'll see what's going on with Soderstrom. Soderstrom's been in both regimes, the Chaika regime and the Bill Armstrong regime. We'll see what happens there. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, spread the word. And as always, thank you for your support.